Hey everyone, welcome back to the Meet series, where we break down how to manage your money, energy, attention, and time for a more intentional, fulfilling life. Because apparently, those are the only currencies that matter anymore. I'm MJ, and today we're putting the spotlight on energy. How you use it, how you lose it, how your unique personality shapes your energy management, and why most of us are running on fumes, thanks to a few quirks society handed us at birth. And adulthood is just a never-ending game of resource management with surprise plot twists. Before we get started, if you haven't, please click the subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss the latest. Share this episode with someone who could use a little inspiration. Your experiences help us all move forward together. Also, please note, the content shared on this podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only and is based on research, personal experiences as a coach, and anecdotes from my wellness journey. I am not a psychiatrist, psychologist, psychoanalyst, therapist, or licensed mental health professional. This podcast does not offer medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are experiencing mental health issues or have inquiries concerning your well-being, it is advised to seek assistance from a qualified healthcare provider or mental health professional. Today, we're plugging into the second personal resource, energy, and the interplay between your canoe and how your attachment style can either supercharge you or drain your battery faster than a toddler with an iPad. Before we dive in, let me bore you with a deep dive into energy and emotion. Energy in the MEET model refers to your physical, mental, and emotional vitality, your capacity to take action, stay focused, and sustain effort. It includes things like stamina, alertness, mental clarity, and emotional resilience. In practical terms, it's the fuel that powers your motivation, helps you pay attention, and lets you make the most of your time. Emotion is a complex psychological state that involves a subjective experience, a physiological response, and a behavioral or expressive response. The word emotion comes from the Old French meaning to stir up. Emotion literally means a moving out or a stirring up, reflecting how emotions move or stir us internally and often lead outward expression. Emotions are signals that help us interpret the world and motivate action. For example, joy, anger, sadness, and excitement. They can be fleeting, like a quick burst of happiness, or persistent, like ongoing anxiety. Emotions are not just feelings, they involve subjective experience, how you feel inside, a physiological response, changes in your body like heart rate or sweating, and a behavioral response, how you act or express yourself. A few theories of emotion range from the James Lange theory that emotions result from our interpretations of bodily reactions to stimuli. For example, you see a snake, your heart races, and you interpret that sensation as fear. To the Cannon-Bard theory that emotions and bodily responses happen simultaneously and independently. For example, you see a snake, and at the same moment, you feel fear and your heart races. There's also the Schachter-Singer or two-factor theory that emotion equals physiological arousal plus cognitive label. For example, your heart races, this is arousal, you label the situation as dangerous and experience fear. Then there's also the Lazarus's cognitive appraisal theory, that emotions depend on how we interpret or appraise a situation. For example, you see a dog. If you think it's friendly, you feel happy. If you think it's aggressive, you feel fear. No matter the theory, we have emotions for survival, when emotions help us quickly respond to threats, fear, or opportunities such as joy, or social situations such as guilt and empathy. Communication through facial expressions, tone of voice, and body language convey emotions to others, all essential for social connection, and decision-making, where our emotions inform our choices, often guiding us before logic kicks in. Emotions affect our motivation, energy, and focus. We can regulate emotions through awareness by noticing and naming your emotions and practicing regulation strategies such as PERM, that is, physical activity, moving your body to process feelings, expression by talking, journaling, or using other creative outlets, reappraisal by changing how you think about a situation, and mindfulness by observing emotions without judgment. Understanding your emotional patterns helps you make conscious choices. Recognizing emotions in others builds trust and connection, and managing emotions helps you bounce back from setbacks. So, why am I talking so much about emotions versus energy? Well, emotions directly affect your energy levels. Positive emotions such as joy, excitement, and gratitude tend to boost energy. They're energizing. And negative emotions, anxiety, sadness, and frustration can drain energy. They're depleting. From another perspective, energy influences your emotional state. When you're well rested and energized, you're more likely to experience positive emotions and handle stress better. When you're depleted, either physically or mentally, you're more prone to irritability, overwhelm, or negative moods. So, managing your energy means managing your emotional states. Recognizing when emotions are draining you and using strategies like movement, mindfulness, and reframing to recharge. Remember, high energy equals more resilience to emotional ups and downs, and emotional regulation equals more consistent and sustainable energy. For me, while prepping for a podcast episode, I tend to feel anxious, and I might notice my energy dip, which may lead to procrastination and a feeling of mental fatigue. When I address the emotion through deep breathing and positive self-talk, my energy can rebound, making me more productive and creative. And let's be honest, energy is often the missing piece in the productivity puzzle. We talk a lot about time management, but it doesn't matter how much time you have if you're running on empty. But let's get real. Energy isn't just about how many hours you've slept or how many shots of espresso you've had. It's also about your personality, how you're wired to interact with the world. But have you ever noticed how some people leave you feeling like you could run a marathon, while others make you want to crawl under a weighted blanket and never come out? That's where the canoe model comes in, also called the Big Five. It stands for conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, openness, and extroversion. Understanding where you fall on each of these traits can help you design energy management strategies that actually work for you, not against you. So, are you an introvert who needs alone time to recharge, or an extrovert who gets energy from socializing? How does your personality shape your energy leaks? Let's walk through each trait and see how it connects to your energy. First, conscientiousness. If you're high in conscientiousness, you thrive on structure, routines, and self-discipline. You probably plan ahead and stick to your commitments, which helps you conserve energy and avoid last-minute stress. But if you're lower in this trait, you might struggle with scattered focus or unfinished projects, which can be a huge energy drain. If you're naturally organized, lean into routines and checklists. If not, try micro habits or flexible to-do lists that don't feel restrictive but still give you direction. Next, agreeableness. Highly agreeable people are caring, cooperative, and often put others first. That's a beautiful thing, but it can also mean your energy goes toward helping others, sometimes at the expense of your own needs. Remember to check in with yourself. Are you saying yes too much? Practice setting gentle boundaries so you can show up for others without running yourself ragged. The next one is neuroticism. If you score high on neuroticism, you're more sensitive to stress and emotional ups and downs. This can make your energy feel like a roller coaster, full of peaks and valleys. Build in regular recovery practices that could be mindfulness, journaling, or just taking a walk. The goal is to regulate your emotions so stress doesn't drain your battery. Next up is openness. Openness is all about curiosity, creativity, and a love of new experiences. High openness can be super energizing, but it can also mean you're constantly chasing new ideas, sometimes spreading yourself too thin. Here's a tip. Channel your creative energy into a few focused projects at a time. Give yourself permission to explore, but set gentle limits so you don't burn out. And finally, extroversion. Extroverts get energy from social interaction, while introverts recharge with less social interaction. Knowing where you fall on this spectrum is key. Schedule your day to match your social battery. If you're an extrovert, plan collaborative work or social time. If you're more introverted, block off quiet time to recharge. Some of my friends know that when I schedule time to do nothing, it doesn't mean it's available time to do something. Sometimes you need to schedule time to do nothing. So why does this matter? Because energy management isn't one size fits all. When you understand your canoe profile, you can make smarter choices about where, when, and how you spend your energy. You're not just reacting to your environment, you're designing it to fit you. Here's a challenge for you this week. Take a quick self-inventory. Which canoe traits do you see most in yourself? Where do you notice big energy gains or drains that line up with those traits? What's one small tweak you can make to honor your natural style? Maybe it's adding a 5-minute recharge break, saying no to a request, or focusing on one creative project at a time. Write it down, try it out, and see what shifts for you. Let's do a lightning round on the 4 major attachment styles because, let's face it, we don't have all day and nobody wants a therapy bill. So first, we have secure, the unicorns of the relationship world, comfortable with closeness, not afraid of independence, and energy pretty steady, like a new car on cruise control. You actually get to use your energy for, living. Relationships feel like a nice cup of coffee, not a triple shot of anxiety. The next one is anxious. This is the, "Did you get my text? Why haven't you replied?" crowd. Energy spikes and crashes. 1 minute, you're on top of the world. The next, you're spiraling because someone left you on read. You burn energy faster than a phone running 10 apps at once. Worrying, overthinking, checking your phone? Your mental battery is always in the red. Next is avoidant. Feelings? Never heard of them. These folks keep their distance. Energy is spent building walls and dodging emotional texts. Think ninja, but with more emotional armor. You waste energy keeping people at arm's length, dodging vulnerability like it's dodgeball in gym class. Pro tip: walls are heavy. They take a lot to maintain. And then finally, we have the fearful avoidant. The emotional roller coaster. This is the come here, no, go away. Energy is a wild ride. One day you're clinging, the next you're ghosting. It's exhausting, honestly. You're basically running an emotional marathon with a backpack full of bricks. Constant push-pull burns you out before lunch. Ever notice how after a text convo, you either feel like you could bench press a car or need a nap? That's attachment style energy in action. Or maybe you're the type who, after one awkward interaction, spends 3 hours replaying it in your head. Congrats, you just spent your daily energy budget on mental reruns. Okay, so now what do? Well, no matter your current attachment style, you can learn and reinforce secure attachment skills. Here's how. 1. Self-awareness. Notice your triggers. Pay attention to situations or feelings that make you feel anxious, avoidant, or reactive in relationships. Reflect regularly. Journaling or mindfulness can help you spot patterns and understand your emotional responses. 2. Emotion regulation. Pause before reacting. When you feel triggered, take a breath before responding. Then name your feelings. Saying, "I feel anxious right now," helps you process instead of react. 3. Healthy communication. Express needs clearly. Use I statements such as "I feel" or "I need." And active listening. Really listen to others without preparing your response. Reflect back what you hear before sharing your perspective. 4. Consistent boundaries. Set limits kindly. Know your limits and communicate them with respect. And honor others' boundaries. Accept no without taking it personally. 5. Reliability and consistency. Follow through. Do what you say you'll do. Consistency builds trust. And be present. Show up physically and emotionally for people in your life. 6. Cultivate mutual support. Offer support by being there for others, but also allow yourself to receive support. And practice vulnerability. Share your true feelings and let others see the real you. And finally, repair ruptures. Apologize when needed. If you mess up, own it and make amends. Then seek understanding. When there's conflict, focus on understanding rather than winning. And as a bonus with yourself, employ self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness, especially when you make mistakes. And self-trust. Keep promises to yourself and acknowledge your own needs and feelings. Here's an example. If you feel anxious waiting for a reply from a friend, instead of spiraling, you might name the feeling, such as, "I'm feeling anxious about this." Then remind yourself of your value regardless of others' responses. And then reach out with a clear, kind message if you need reassurance, or practice self-soothing. Notice where your energy goes in relationships, be it romantic, platonic, or even professional. Who gives you energy, pouring into you? Who drains it, pulling out of you? And what's your attachment style doing in the background? Write it down, laugh about it, maybe even cry about it. But most of all, get curious. The more you know about how your attachment style zaps or boosts your energy, the more you can hack your own system. So let's touch on socially patterned defects, aka all those weird ways society trains us to waste our energy like it's on clearance at a big box store. And let's just say it, society is an expert pickpocket. You start your day with a full tank, and by 10 a.m., it's gone. Poof. Like your last paycheck after a quick trip to Home Depot. Why? Because we're all running around with what are called socially patterned defects. Translation? Habits, beliefs, and expectations that suck your energy dry. But hey, at least you fit in, right? Let's take a little tour, shall we? There's people-pleasing. Society says, be nice, always say yes, tugging on your agreeableness. In reality, you're RSVPing to events you hate, smiling through gritted teeth, and wondering why you need 3 naps a day. Newsflash, you're not a social battery charger for everyone else. There's the hustle culture. Society says, sleep is for the weak, rise and grind. In reality, you're mainlining coffee, bragging about your burnout like it's a badge of honor, and mistaking exhaustion for ambition. Pro tip, zombies are also up all night. Nobody's giving them a TED Talk. There's the comparison Olympics. Society says, look at their highlight reel, now feel bad about yourself. In reality, you're doom scrolling, energy tank dropping with every swipe, and wondering why your life isn't as perfectly filtered as that influencer's breakfast. Their avocado toast is probably bland and cold or fake. And conflict avoidance. Society says don't rock the boat. In reality, you're bottling up your feelings so hard you could carbonate water. Guess what? Emotional repression is a full-time job with 0 benefits. And why do we buy into it? Because it's easier. Who wants to be the weirdo who says no, sets boundaries, or clutch my black pearls, takes a nap at noon? But here's the kicker. These patterns aren't just quirky personality traits. They're energy black holes, and society hands them out like free samples at Costco. So let's talk about how to reclaim your energy without moving to a yurt. Let's start with auditing your defects. Make a list of the shoulds running your day. Which ones leave you feeling like a phone at 1%? Cross out at least one just for fun. See if the world ends. Spoiler, it won't. Practice the sacred art of no. Say no to something you don't want to do. If you need a script try, no. Watch your energy meter rise. It's almost like magic, but with less incense. Stop the comparison game. Unfollow, mute, or scroll past. Your energy is too precious to waste on someone else's airbrushed brunch. And give yourself permission to rest. It's revolutionary, I know, but maybe, just maybe, you don't have to be productive every waking second. Try resting. If guilt shows up, tell it to take a number. The truth is, society says be everyone to everyone all the time. I say be something to yourself at least once a day, because at the end of the day, nobody's handing out trophies for most exhausted human. Trust me, I checked. This week, spot one socially patterned defect draining your energy. Call it out, laugh about it, and maybe even post about it, because if you're going to have a meltdown, at least get some likes. Let me add in a bit of perspective here. I remember as a teenager keeping a calendar with me so I could keep track of life. From homework assignments to work schedules to church services and family gatherings, I had everything written down. I was so busy. Church members would tell me to sit down somewhere or take a break, else I succumbed to fatigue. I had friends express their issues with my calendar being so full that I couldn't accommodate them. While I was running on adrenaline from the daily grind of being an adolescent male and a desire to live up to social expectations, there were times when my body said, "That's enough, you're taking a nap." And where I'd planned to attend Bible class after getting home from school, the moment I took a seat in the recliner, I was asleep. I'd awakened to an empty house as my mom knew a growing boy needs his rest. To this day, I sometimes imagine the mothers of the church reminding me to take a break and rest. What I didn't notice was my responses to individuals was often curt. In my head, I was moving at a different pace and began to express annoyance at others' lack of keeping up, instead of realizing I needed to adjust my part in the conversation, get some rest, and listen, and actually engage socially. This is an example of being tired, while thinking I'm rested enough to engage with others. You can see this through some streaming contests where contestants are displayed as being irritable, unsure, and bearing interpersonal conflict, when in reality, their living conditions are created to encourage a little testiness through reduced calories, cold studios, long production times, and active segregation of contestants. I know life may seem authentic, but for many, it's a production. And when you can pull yourself away from the Truman Show of it all, then you're able to better manage yourself and your response to external stimuli. Another example I recall is when managing a few team projects, and both my college professor and a few years later a manager identified that my energy would take a dramatic plunge when I was hungry. Now, I was conditioned to operate on low calories while in church through mandatory fastings on Wednesdays and Fridays all year, some Sunday mornings, and sometimes once or twice for a week due to a revival, or if the pastor felt like he needed to engage everyone in a common cause. It would take me getting into bodybuilding and personal training to truly appreciate the impact of good calories on the body and mind. While I was functioning on low calories, I wasn't listening to my body's need for nourishment to handle big projects and decisions. My body was trying to address two things at once: an intense need for food and the desire to complete the project. You ever wonder why your energy feels like it's been mugged by noon? Enter HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. The four horsemen of the energy apocalypse. In the world of meat, money, energy, attention, and time, ignoring HALT is like running your phone on 3% battery and still opening TikTok. Hungry? Nothing says ready to conquer the world like running on fumes and 3 stale almonds you found in your car. You're not making power moves, you're making snack runs. Your brain's main function is now find food, not finish project. Angry? Ever tried to be productive while mentally drafting a 28-page rant to your coworker? Congrats, you just rage spent your energy on imaginary arguments. Lonely? Who needs focus when you can spiral into the existential void, right? Bonus points if you start texting your ex for closure. You'll spend 2 hours doom scrolling for connection, then wonder why you can't focus. Tired? You're not tired. You're functioning. Sure. And my dog writes emails. If yawning were cardio, you'd be an Olympian. Forget productivity. You're starring in your own personal zombie movie. Your body's present, your brain's on a beach somewhere. Good luck with that to-do list. Bottom line, ignoring HALT is like trying to run a marathon in flip-flops. Technically possible, but why would you do that to yourself? If you don't halt and check yourself, your energy gets eaten alive before you even get to the good stuff and meat. So, do yourself a favor, pause, snack, vent, call a friend, or take a nap. Your energy and your future self will thank you. Society says just push through, power nap, manifest energy. Right, because nothing fixes exhaustion like a motivational quote in cursive font. So, what do you do? Here's my highly scientific, totally unproven by experts advice. If you're hungry, eat something. Revolutionary, I know! And don't go from one extreme to another just because you're hungry. Don't act like you're starving. If you're angry, scream into a pillow or go for a walk and imagine you're storming out of a meeting. Instant energy boost. If you're lonely, text a friend, Pet your cat or talk to your plants. Your pets and your plants are sometimes better listeners anyway. And if you're tired, take a nap. If you can't, just close your eyes and pretend. If anyone asks, you're meditating. This week, when your energy crashes, don't blame your willpower, blame halt. Then do the radical thing. Take care of yourself. Because the only thing worse than being tired is pretending you're not. So as a supplement to halt, let's look at a mindfulness tool developed by Dr. Dan Siegel called SIFT to help us become more aware of our internal experiences. SIFT stands for sensations. This is the physical feelings in your body. Images. These are the mental pictures or memories. Feelings. These are your emotions you're experiencing. And thoughts. This is your self-talk or beliefs. By sifting through these 4 elements, we gain clarity about what's happening inside us, which is the first step toward emotional regulation and self-mastery. In the MEAT model, money, energy, attention, and time, energy is your reservoir of physical, mental, and emotional vitality. Emotions are one of the biggest influences on our energy. Unprocessed emotions can drain us, leading to fatigue, distraction, or burnout. Awareness and regulation of emotions helps us conserve and even boost our energy. SIFT acts as an emotional audit, letting us catch draining patterns early so we can take action before they sap our energy. When you're aware of your sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts, you can intervene before stress spirals out of control, reframe negative talk, and shift your focus to energizing thoughts and actions. Here's a simple, actionable routine you can use. 1. Pause and breathe. Take a deep breath and give yourself a minute of stillness. There's something about breathing. It keeps coming up as either the number 1 practice or in the list to develop awareness. 2. Scan for each SIFT element. Through sensations, notice physical sensations. What's happening in my body right now? Tight shoulders, clenched hands and feet, racing heart. And then early awareness of body stress lets you intervene. So you stretch, you hydrate, you breathe. And this aids in preventing energy drain. With images, what images or memories are coming up? Past mistake? A hopeful vision? Spotting negative or draining imagery lets you consciously shift to more empowering mental pictures, protecting your energy. For feelings, what emotion am I experiencing? Anxiety? Excitement? Naming emotions reduces their intensity and prevents emotional hijacking, helping you conserve and redirect energy. And then thoughts. Identify the self-talk or beliefs running through your mind. For example, I'm not good enough, or I can't handle this. Challenging unhelpful thoughts can stop unnecessary energy leaks and boost resilience. 3. Name each one. Label each element without judgment. For example, I notice tension in my stomach. I see an image of last week's challenge. I feel nervous. My thought is, what if I fail? 4. Choose a response. Take a small action to shift your state. Stretch or move your body. Visualize a positive outcome. Practice self-compassion or reframe a negative thought. And 5. Repeat as needed. Use SIFT anytime you feel emotionally charged, stuck, or depleted. SIFT flows in the MEAT model even as we focus on energy through money, where we find that clear emotions and thoughts help you make better financial decisions, avoiding impulsive or avoidant behaviors to drain resources. Through energy, SIFT breaks the cycle of emotional reactivity, so you don't waste energy on rumination or stress, freeing up energy for purposeful action. Through attention, by processing emotions, you're less distracted by internal noises, allowing sharper focus. And through time, less time lost to emotional spirals means more time for what matters. By sifting, you bring these to awareness, address them with deep breathing and reframing, and prevent an energy crash, so you show up focused, calm, and creative. So now we have a better understanding of our emotions and their impact on our energy. Now, what do we do when we feel compelled to do something almost mandated? Sometimes we can feel like our heads get a little fuzzy and unclear. Another way we can think of this is fog. Fear, obligation, and guilt. Fear being the anxiety about outcomes, rejection, or failure. In obligation, there's a feeling of being pressured to do something out of duty rather than genuine desire. And then guilt is feeling bad for not meeting others' expectations or for prioritizing your needs. These states are common in codependent relationships, difficult family dynamics, and even professional settings. And fog can drain our energy through 1. Constant emotional drain. Fog triggers chronic stress responses. Your body and mind stay on alert, burning through emotional and physical energy just to cope. You might feel exhausted even when you haven't done much physically. 2. Mental fatigue and rumination. Fear and guilt lead to overthinking, second-guessing, and worrying about others' reactions. This mental noise saps your energy and makes it harder to focus on what matters. 3. Reduced motivation. When actions are driven by obligation, you're less likely to feel authentic enthusiasm or joy. This lack of intrinsic motivation is draining. 4. Difficulty setting boundaries. Fog makes it hard to say no, so you overcommit and stretch yourself thin. Another big energy leak. And 5. Physical symptoms. Chronic fog can manifest as headaches, muscle tension, or even trouble sleeping, all of which further deplete your energy reserves. In the MEAT model, fog can lead to people-pleasing or undercharging, affecting financial vitality. Fog is a direct drain, lowering your baseline and making it harder to recharge. Fog pulls your focus away from your goals and onto others' expectations, and time gets eaten up by tasks you don't want to do or by worrying about them. We can counter fog and reclaim our energy through awareness by noticing when decisions are driven by fear, obligation, or guilt. Through establishing boundaries by practicing saying no and honoring your limits. Through self-compassion by reminding yourself it's okay to prioritize your well-being. And through an action audit, regularly checking if your actions align with your values and goals, not just others' demands. And here's another nugget to add to our understanding. According to neuroscientist Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, an emotional response triggers the release of neurochemicals in the brain, leading to physiological changes such as increased heart rate, heightened muscle tension, or sensations in the stomach. In the absence of continued focus on the emotion, these chemical effects generally dissipate within 90 seconds. Emotions persisting beyond this duration are typically sustained by recurrent thoughts related to the original event. Said a different way, we continue to experience an emotion because we choose to. Let that sink in to determine if we're harming or helping ourselves. In Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, he states, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Frankl writes about how when we cannot change our circumstances, we are challenged to change ourselves. To help with that, let's bring in Ho'oponopono. First off, Ho'oponopono isn't a trendy acai bowl or a yoga pose you can't pronounce. It's an ancient Hawaiian practice for clearing out emotional gunk, so you stop tripping over your own baggage and start reclaiming your energy. The recipe? Just 4 phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Simple, right? So why does it feel harder than remembering all your passwords? If we're honest, many of us are running an emotional deficit. You ever wake up tired and it's not because you stayed up binge watching murder investigations? Okay, maybe a little. It's because you're lugging around yesterday's regrets, last week's arguments, and that thing your 3rd grade teacher said about your handwriting. All that emotional clutter is like running 47 apps in the background. No wonder your energy is buffering. Here's where Ho'oponopono comes in. Think of it as the clear cache button for your soul. Instead of letting that energy leak out through stress, guilt, or awkward shower arguments, you pause and run the 4-phrase update. I'm sorry for letting my energy get hijacked by old drama. Please forgive me for holding on to stuff that should have been deleted with my MySpace account. Thank you for the lesson, even if it came wrapped up in a dumpster fire. And I love you. Because honestly, if you don't, who will? Let's tie this back to our meat model. If your energy is busy playing emotional janitor, what's left for your money, attention, or time? Not much. But when you Ho'oponopono your way to a cleaner emotional slate, suddenly you've got bandwidth. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're not snapping at your partner, doom scrolling, or rage spending $47 on scented candles at 2 a.m. You're present, you're focused, and you've got energy to actually do the stuff that matters. So here's your challenge. Next time you feel your energy tanking, halt, sift, and then hit yourself with a round of Ho'oponopono. No sage, no crystals, just you, your honesty, and maybe a locked bathroom door. See how your energy shifts. Spoiler, you might just feel lighter, and your meat will thank you. Before we end, I want to bring in another mindset to aid in managing your limited resources. Knowing that we learn in different ways from different perspectives, cultures, and experiences, I wanted to look at a few Japanese and Italian tips or philosophies and how they can help connect us to our efforts and help manage our energy. First is Kaizen. In Kaizen, we start small and improve continuously. Apply this by breaking big tasks into micro actions. Celebrate small wins to sustain momentum. Notice how this reduces overwhelm by encouraging tiny, manageable steps. Less stress equals more energy. 2. With Ikigai, we find our purpose as we reflect on what excites us about our work and connect daily tasks to our bigger why. When we're aligned with our purpose, we tap into intrinsic motivation, fueling our energy reserves. 3. Through Shoshin, we maintain a beginner's mind, approaching tasks as learning opportunities, not burdens. This encourages us to stay curious and open, which makes work feel less like a chore and more like an exploration. 4. Obaitori reminds us to avoid comparing ourselves to others, leading to discontent and fixed mindset versus discovery and growth mindset. Focus on your unique journey and progress, not others. As you do, you'll see how this protects your energy from being drained by comparison and self-doubt. 5. Wabi-sabi is the embrace of imperfection. Accept that flaws are part of growth, progress over perfection, and notice how this frees up mental energy otherwise spent on perfectionism and self-criticism. 6. Through Nemawashi, we prepare and plan gradually, gather feedback, and ease into new projects. This show of conscientiousness and neuroticism reduces last-minute stress by preparing and involving others early. And 7. The Pomodoro technique suggests that we work in focus bursts, prevent burnout by alternating focus and rest, which helps maintain high energy throughout the day. An example of this is work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. Repeat. Here's how I use these philosophies. I use Kaizen to script just a few minutes of my podcast daily, instead of tackling the whole episode at once. I use Ikigai to remind myself how the content helps me and others grow. I use Shoshin to try new formats or topics with curiosity. I use Obaitori to celebrate my unique voice and avoid comparing my downloads to others. I use Wabi-sabi when I'm battling with small details and simply publish even if it's not perfect. I use Nemawashi to outline my next episode and gather guests' input early. And I try to use the Pomodoro technique, edit in focus sprints with short breaks. Which of these tips resonates most with you right now? And how might you weave it into your daily energy management? Okay, so that's it for today's energy rant. Your energy is not a group project. Spend it like you actually own it. Clear your emotional cache, reclaim your energy, and don't let your baggage eat your meat. Now, it's time to go charge up, securely, anxiously, avoidantly, or somewhere in between. Your energy is precious. Don't let your attachment style spin it all in one place. If you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, maybe don't try to solve world peace or even your inbox. Before you rock your canoe, go help yourself first. Sift through your emotions, clear the fog, and be kind to yourself. Next up, we're talking attention. How to keep it, where to spend it, and how not to lose it to the endless scroll. If you found value in today's episode, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss the latest. Share this episode with someone who could use a little inspiration. Your experiences help us all move forward together. Thank you for joining me on this journey through your limited, valuable, and semi-renewable resource. If you've learned something new about yourself, I'd love to hear from you. Remember, we're all human, and sometimes we need to be reminded how amazing we are for it. Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep showing up for yourself. Take care, protect your meat, and join me next time where we'll pick and dig in on brain boogers.